The most significant political development in recent U.S. history is Donald Trump's return to the White House after the 2024 election, running on a platform of economic revival, immigration reform, and America First policies. Trump managed to galvanize his base while expanding his appeal among working-class voters. His victory underscored the nation's deep political divisions. With a sharply polarized electorate, the election itself was marked by controversies over voting procedures, campaign finance, and disinformation, leading to renewed debates about election integrity. Trump's administration is already making headlines with executive orders aimed at undoing many policies from the Biden era, including environmental regulations and healthcare reforms. Immigration has re-emerged as a central political issue. The southern border continues to see high levels of migrant crossings, prompting debates over border security and humanitarian responses. The Biden administration's policies aimed at a more humane approach to asylum have been rolled back by Trump's new administration, which has reinstated measures like family detentions and the Remain in Mexico policy. Meanwhile, the business community is pushing for reforms to address labor shortages, particularly in agriculture, technology, and healthcare. Despite these pressures, comprehensive immigration reform remains elusive due to partisan disagreements. The conservative-majority Supreme Court has been pivotal in shaping U.S. policy. Recent decisions on affirmative action, student loan forgiveness, and environmental regulations have sparked widespread debate. The court's influence is seen as both a stabilizing force and a polarizing one, depending on one's political perspective. Democrats have called for judicial reforms, including court expansion or term limits for justices. But these proposals have gained little traction. Joe Biden's presidency is now being evaluated as Democrats navigate their path forward. While Biden achieved major legislative victories like the Inflation Reduction Act and infrastructure spending, critics argue that he struggled to connect with voters on pressing issues like inflation and crime. The Democratic Party faces internal tensions between progressives and moderates, with debates over the party's direction. Figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez advocate for bold reforms, while centrist leaders like Joe Manchin urge caution. Populism continues to shape both major parties. On the Republican side, Trump's brand of nationalism remains dominant, while Democrats see growing influence from progressive populists advocating for wealth redistribution and climate action. Additionally, third-party movements are gaining traction. Groups like the Forward Party, led by Andrew Yang, aim to disrupt the two-party system. While these efforts face significant institutional hurdles, they reflect widespread dissatisfaction with the status quo. U.S. foreign policy is at a crossroads as global power dynamics shift. Key challenges include China. Relations with China remain tense over Taiwan, trade, and technology. Both parties have supported measures to counter China's influence, such as restrictions on Chinese tech companies and expanded military presence in the Indo-Pacific. Ukraine. The U.S. continues to support Ukraine in its war against Russia, though debates over the scale and duration of aid are intensifying in Congress. Middle East. Renewed conflicts in the Middle East have prompted discussions about America's role in the region, particularly regarding its commitments to Israel and Saudi Arabia. Joe Biden's presidency is now being evaluated as Democrats navigate their path forward. While Biden achieved major legislative victories like the Inflation Reduction Act and infrastructure spending, critics argue that he struggled to connect with voters on pressing issues like inflation and crime. The Democratic Party faces internal tensions between progressives and moderates, with debates over the party's direction. Figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez advocate for bold reforms, while centrist